Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're starting a brand new fanfic, which is What If Chronicles of Smart Naruto and Hanabi, Naruto fell in love with Naruto, Naruto x Hanabi, Part 2. If you enjoy this story, please like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you want a Part 2. Now, let's begin the fanfic. I know what I said, Kakashi-sensei. It still doesn't make it any less painful for me. Naruto gripped his fists, his fingers breaking his skin as his eyes began to swell with tears. Kakashi dropped from the tree and placed his hands on his shoulders. I'm sorry, Naruto. I didn't know it would affect you this badly. I thought you gotten over it. Naruto sighed heavily, hearing his sensei's apologetic words as his hands already began to stop the bleeding and heal his self-inflicted wounds. Just promise me one thing, sensei. Naruto turned his gaze upward, the lights in his eyes danced with the myriad of emotions that played through them as they mingled with the lingering tears. What would that be? Don't try to make something out of nothing between Hanabi and I. We are merely teacher and student. I do not like her that way, nor does she. Naruto requested firmly from his teacher. I promise not to make something out of nothing, Naruto. Kakashi promised solemnly. But if something does appear, you bet I'll make something out of it, Naruto. You deserve happiness the most out of this village, and not even you will stop me from that. Naruto sensed something went awry with his acceptance, but chose to dismiss it. He would have faith in his teacher. Thank you for understanding. Open corner bracket 4 weeks 28th of April. Several weeks has passed since Naruto initially took the young Hyuga under his wing. Every day, even the weekends, it was composed of the same training. Exhausting her chakra through the use of ninjutsu and the strengthening of her body through taijutsu training. She was quickly progressing, but before he could continue, Hanabi and her team were assigned a C-ranked escort mission to the Land of Waves. It's been a week since they left. Naruto hummed to himself as he wandered around the village. He eventually found himself in a district belonging to the Uchiha clan. As long as a single member of the clan still lived, the clan could not remove any of the homes. He walked through the street, various different homes of sizes on both sides, all of them covered in dust, untouched for ages, all but one. The home which Sasuke grew up and currently lived is the only one to be clean. Naruto knocked on the door to see if his former teammates were home. Not a sound came in reply to his knocks. No one is home, huh? I guess those two are still on their honeymoon. Naruto sighed heavily as he paced away from the district. Without any real thought as to what to do, he wandered where the wind took him. As he wandered, almost everyone he walked by greeted him with smiles. After an hour passed by, he came across one of his friends from his childhood. Sporting the green spandex, Lee and Guy were running around the village. Naruto waved towards the two, immediately capturing their attentions. Lee pivoted on his heel and took off towards Naruto at unspeakable speed. I hope he can stop. Naruto panicked, poised to jump at the last second if in case his friend was unable to stop on a dime. Surely enough, even with all that speed behind him, Lee came to a grinding halt before Naruto, have a salutational greeting to the blonde shinobi. Good morning, Naruto. The essence of youth was overflowing with each word. A single thought came to Naruto's mind when he was greeted by Lee. Hey Lee, I got a favor to ask you. Anything, Naruto. Lee happily agreed to his request without even confirming. After years of knowing each other, he knew there would be only one thing he would request of him. Mind sparring with me? Certainly. Let's meet at Training Grounds 28. Gleefully, the green spandex sporting Jonin grinned as he and his sensei jumped away. With a wide grin, Naruto followed both Lee and Guy. The three of them appeared in a vast clearing of the woods. Almost a perfect circular patch of dirt expanded outward of an 100 feet radius. Guy stood in the center with Naruto and Lee on opposite sides of each other. So what restrictions do you wish to place, Naruto? Guy asked. Naruto contemplated for a while. He remembered the first time he fought with Lee. It took over a whole day, a full 24 hours, before either of them decided to stop. While he had all day, he did not necessarily wanted to spend so long on a fight. First, taijutsu only. Second, we will keep our weights on, and I won't remove my seals. Third, no inner gates. Fourth, first to land one blow wins. Guy and Lee both nodded their head in unison, agreeing to the restrictions for this fight. Guy spoke up, asking a question to one of the things Naruto remarked. So I take it you were able to decipher your clan's scrolls? Only a few scrolls. The other ones I can decipher in time, but if they're anywhere as hard as this seal, it will be a while before I will master them. There's just so many. They're that hard? Lee questioned. Naruto sighed heavily as he answered the question. Yeah, I haven't even mastered this seal. It's rough, but it works for all intents and purposes. This time, Guy asked another question. So, what does that seal do? I know you've been using it for a while, and you said you were tweaking with it and tell me once you figured out everything. Ah, yes. This is my favorite seal from the scrolls one deciphered. Naruto nodded. It takes the spiritual and physical energies used to make chakra, and makes it counter flow against itself. Since it forces the physical energy against itself, it also strengthens my body. How many gates can you open so far, Naruto? 2 so far. I'm not nearly as talented as you are, Guy. Naruto lightly scratched the back of his head. Lee nearly teared up. Being called talented by him, one of his best friends, truly made his day. With his fist shaking and tears flowing, he smiled. The youth is strong in you. Naruto sweated a little. Him and his youth. Lee jumped back and moved into his strong fist stance. Naruto also jumped back, positioning himself in no particular stance. He lowered his waist, brought his right fist to his side, and extended his left fist out. Never seen that stance before. Guy thought to himself as he examined Naruto's pose. Not many openings. Not sure why he is sticking his left arm all the way out. This could be intriguing. Guy raised his hand. He glanced at both parties and immediately dropped it, signaling the fight to begin. Without missing a beat, Lee sprang forwards with unprecedented speed, hurtling himself towards Naruto. Dynamic entry. The youthful taijutsu master leapt from the ground, extending both right leg and arms, aiming for Naruto's torso. Naruto pivoted on the spot, swinging his body out of the range of his kick, but kept his fist leveled with Lee's eyesight. Just as Lee passed by him, he made his move while he was still within range. Lee's face swept dangerously close to Naruto's fist. He didn't worry though. It was fully extended, so it wouldn't hit him unless Naruto moved. Nonetheless, something caught his attention as he flew by. I can't see much. His fist is like a wall, blocking most of my view. Suddenly, another fist came into view. Lee's eyes widened as he moved up his right arm to intercept it, blocking the punch. Taking the brunt of the force, his body tilted, sending him on a deviant course angled away from Naruto. Naruto quickly retracted his right fist back to his side. Lee blinked several times as his mind started grinding away as to what just happened. I couldn't see his attack until the last second because of that fist. Guy mulled to himself as he saw the brief contact between Lee and Naruto. He seems to be using his left fist as a shield, to counter against Lee's attacks and to hinder his vision, while he holds back his right fist and strikes with it like a spear at any opportunity. Lee rolled along the ground before coming to a halt. With a grin, he fell into his stance once again. He hopped a few times before dashing off again. I'll fake him out. When I get close, I'll dash around and strike from behind. Just as he moved in, Naruto adjusted his arm to hinder Lee's eyesight. Lee instantly pivoted on the spot, swinging around his friend to position himself behind Naruto. Naruto pivoted quickly on the spot, swinging his extended fist, matching it with Lee's speed and movement. Blocking his view from his attack, Lee jumped back once again. I guess I have to kick it up a notch. Lee shifted from side to side before lowering his stance. Before taking off, he noticed something was off. Where did he? Before he could even finish his thought, Naruto was upon him. Same fist outstretched, expanding its size in Lee's field of view. He knew what was going to happen, so he twisted his body counterclockwise to the outside of Naruto's left arm, dodging Naruto's incoming punch barely. B continued to spin around until he was behind Naruto, following through with a counterattack. Naruto spun clockwise to defend. Lee, still spinning, sent a right hook to his ribs. Before he could do anything, Lee already nailed him in the side of the rib. Damn, he's not light on the punches. Naruto skidded a few feet away as he clenched his right side. Guy raised his hand, indicating the fight ended in Lee's victory. Guy stretched out his fist and gave his trademark thumbs up. Nice job, Lee. Thank you, Guy-sensei. Naruto took a deep breath as he felt his side, making sure no bones were broken. After confirming, he casually walked over to Lee. That was a good fight, Lee. Still shows I'm no match for you. Lee scratched the back of his head as he blushed at the comment. Only in your base form. I'm sure if you decided to go all out, I would lose. But I have no reason to go all out anymore, and I'm sure the village would be happy if it stayed that way. Naruto chuckled loudly. He understood how much power he held. He knew that without having the powers of the tailed beasts inside him, or the power of the sage, while he could hold his own against the top, he would not be the strongest as he is right now. He wanted to be like Lee. No natural talent, but surely one of the best through sheer dedication. This is the reason why he wanted to train his base form. He doesn't hate the gifts given to him, but he didn't want it to rely on them. He wanted to be strong without them. Naruto patted Lee on the shoulder. He was a bit disappointed that the fight ended so soon, but it just showed how much farther he had to go before he could stand on equal grounds with his friend. Good job, Lee. I need to work harder to catch up. Lee grinned as he stared at Guy. Guy gave a knowing nod to Lee's unvoiced question. He bent down and pulled up his orange leg warmers. Wrapped around his ankles were a series of weights, resembling what he was wearing back in the Chunin exam several years ago. He quickly unfastened both of them and held them out. These are for you, Naruto. I'm sure they will supplement your own training quite well. They were starting to get a bit light for me now anyways. Naruto took a closer look at the weights. Written on them were the words, "Fight Lee. Fight." Naruto couldn't help but chuckle lightly to receiving hand-me-downs from Lee, but he accepted the gift lightly. After Lee confirmed Naruto had a firm grip on his weights, he let go of them, causing Naruto's arms to drop considerably. Good lord. These must weigh a ton each. You are too much, Lee. Naruto mentally exasperated as he fought to wrap the weights around his leg under his pants. The weights were a considerable strain on him, but he would adjust in time. Not to mention they pulling on his leg hairs. I better grab some sport tape soon. Naruto grinned as he said thanks to Lee. Now Lee, let's get you some new weights. Guy-sensei. Giving his teacher his trademark salute, the both of them flared their brilliant smiles at Naruto before leaving. Naruto sighed heavily as he grudgingly began his long walk to find some sport tape. Naruto pushed open a glass door, knocking a dangling bell, informing the store owner of a customer's entrance. A soft voice called out from beyond the door behind the counter. Hold one. I'll be right there. Several sounds of metal clanging against each other. The sound of hurried footsteps could be heard as the owner stepped out with soot all over her coveralls. She wiped the dirt and grime from her face as best as she could, but alas, visible traces of her tiresome work remained. She glanced at the blonde shinobi as a smile grew exponentially on her face. Her eyes danced with a myriad of emotions as she lifted up a piece of the counter, allowing her access to the rest of the store. Hey stranger. She deftly stepped towards Naruto, throwing her arms around him. Hey Tenten. Naruto replied as he was met with the dirty, yet warm embrace of his friend. How have you been holding up? She pulled her face away, tilting her head and adding a sweet smile. I've been getting better. The emotions on her face morphed from happy, to sad, to anger. She quickly pulled her smithing hammer from her waist, hitting Naruto upside the head as she pouted slightly. Would it kill you to come back and visit me? You've been gone for months, and not a single word. Naruto, crouching and clenching his head, moaned in agony. Damn, ain't no punch from Sakura, but still hurts like hell. Naruto exhaled a painful gasp before replying. Sorry Tenten, but you don't need to go hitting me upside the head. Tenten reflected on her actions. She didn't mean to really hurt the guy, but on second thought, no matter what, getting hit by a smithing hammer would hurt anyone. No matter how mad she was, she shouldn't have taken it that far. Sorry. It seems all I ever do is hit and berate you. Tenten's expression changed once again as she stared at the ground, fidgeting with her fingers. After rubbing his head a dozen times, he stood back up and laid both hands on her shoulders. It's okay Tenten, I forgive you, so don't be so sad. Tenten raised her head, locking her eyes with Naruto's. Naruto grinned back. Besides, didn't hurt as much as when Sakura used to punch me. Tenten let out a small chuckle, recalling several circumstances that lead to Naruto flying across the streets from a punch of a pink-haired kunoichi. She always was rough with you, wasn't she? Naruto bellowed out in laughter as he agreed with her. I don't even know why I chased after her for so long. Yeah, especially after all those punches you took. You were one determined knucklehead, Naruto. Tenten agreed, laughing all the same with her friend. You better believe it. Naruto grinned. So, what brings you to my little shop, oh great hero, Naruto-sama? Tenten asked as she was playfully adding honorifics. Stop that Tenten. You know I hate it when people call me that. Naruto chastised his friend for making fun of his titles. Tenten merely stuck her tongue out all too playfully in response. But yeah, I came here to get some athletic tape. Lee have me his old weights and it's hurting my leg hairs. Naruto called out sorrowfully as tears streamed down his face. Tenten could stop laughing and immediately ran around a corner, turning into an aisle and grabbing some white tape. She turned around and tossed it at Naruto. She rang him up and he happily paid for the bandages. He sat on the ground immediately and pulled off the weights, laying them carefully on the ground as to not leave a crater. He already got hit once in the head, and that was playfully. Last thing he wanted was a smithing hammer being flung at him at full force. His legs were a pinkish red, severely agitated by the weights. B rubbed it a few times to relax the muscles and rub out the irritation before wrapping it up. He attached the leg weights to his legs again, grinning as he now didn't feel the friction anymore. Tenten managed to get a glimpse at the writing on each of the individual weights. Fight Lee, fight, huh? Guy always motivated Lee every way possible, didn't he? A gentle smile grew upon her face once again as Naruto rose to his feet. Hey, remember what you asked me to do last time you were here? Naruto rattled his brain for a bit, attempting to recall past conversations. Searching through his mind to no avail, he shook his head as Tenten pouted slightly in response. Seriously. This guy, if I didn't remind him, he would never remember. Tenten sighed lightly. The you wanted specific kunais made. The three-pronged ones. All uncharged. Tenten walked behind the counter and pulled out a flat, rectangular box. She lifted the top, showcasing 10 cobalt blue triple-pronged kunai with C's wrapped around the handle. She smiled as she saw the light in Naruto's eyes. She placed the cover back on the flat box and handed it to him. You already have many of these planted around the village, and I take it you planted the others in the different villages when you were gone the past few months. What do you need 10 more for? To give them out to people. I'll need another 10 more I think. Naruto grinned as he pulled the box off the counter. I'll need an upfront payment. You know how costly this stuff gets. Naruto sighed heavily. I'll come by tomorrow with the money. Naruto waved as he walked out the store. I guess I'll go check up on some other people. It was mid-afternoon when Naruto found his way to the Inuzuka clan's district. He knew he was in the right place as he glanced around and noticed a greater density of shinobi with red fang marks on their cheeks walking around with their fellow dogs. Naruto walked around until he found a familiar face. He waved his hand out, calling to his friend. Yo, Kiba. Kiba's head swiveled from his companion, Akamaru, to Naruto. He raised his hand, greeting his friend as Naruto jogged to his side. Yo, Naruto. What's up, man? You been gone for several months. Well, you know, Hokage sending me on those damn S-ranked missions, I was also visiting the other countries, trying to build ties with them. Well, we already have a solid relationship with the Sand Village. The Cloud Village is far better than it was years ago. Any luck with the Stone Village and the Mist Village? The Mist Village is coming around, slowly. Onoki of the Stone Village is a pain. He's really set in his old ways and don't want to bend. Kiba couldn't help but laugh. So I heard a little rumor, Naruto. Seems you got a new student. Kiba commented with an all too knowing grin. Yeah, I'm training Hinata's little sister, Hanabi. She's away on a mission right now, but she should be back in the next few days. Is that all? Kiba asked, slightly deflated. I heard more, but. As if Naruto knew what was running through his mind at instant, he stared back with a cold glare. That is all. Kiba clearly heard the underlying tone in his voice. Sensitive subject. Don't bring it up, got it? Kiba made a mental note not to tread on those grounds again. So anything new with you, Kiba? I got a genin team now. Kiba grunted. They're annoying as hell. Naruto busted out laughing. Kiba, in change of kids. Annoying him. Oh, I would pay to see that. Knowing that grin on Naruto's face, it was easy for Kiba to know what was running through his mind. Yeah, wait until you have a team. Kiba remarked darkly. You won't be laughing then. The effect was instant. His thoughts started kicking into fifth gear. Naruto started to panic slightly. What if I had someone like Konohamaru, or even worse? Sweat began pouring out of his face as his body started to shiver. Myself. He would probably lose all patience faster than he could eat a bowl of ramen. Note to self, thank Hanabi for being such a good student. Hey, Naruto, you hungry? As if his body heard the question, his stomach replied with a large growl. Heh. Naruto bashfully scratched the back of his head. Yeah. Let's go then. We'll pick up Choji and go to barbecue. Dishes holding a variety of raw meat was placed before the three men. Practically drooling, they quickly placed as much meat as possible over the grill. The smell of cooking meat wafted to Choji, literally causing his mouth to water over. Oh man, it smells even better than last time. Choji exclaimed as he stared at the meat, hoping his anticipation would, by some miracle, cook the meat faster. So what have you been up to, Choji? Naruto asked. Choji snapped out of it, hearing the question asked by his friend. My father is preparing me to become the next clan head. He sighed heavily. It's not fun at all. I rather be a sensei for the next generation, but apparently this has to come first. Clan head, huh? Must be a lot of work. It is, Naruto. You don't even know. Naruto sighed heavily. But I have a feeling I will know soon enough. What do you mean? Kiba asked. Choji raised an eyebrow to Kiba's question. Don't you know? You do know who Naruto's parents are, right? Well, yeah, the fourth Hokage. And he's a Uzumaki. Choji smacked his forehead. There are no other Namikaze or Uzumaki in the village. Kiba asked, getting impatient. He's the sole heir to not just one, but two clans of the village, am I right, Naruto? Naruto sighed and hanged his head low. Kiba let out a whistle. Damn. Double the pressure. Good thing I don't have to worry. My mom won't let me take over until I beat her, and she's never holds back in a fight. Kiba shivered, recalling the last time his mother fought him. He was pretty heated at the time, and ended up saying the one thing he never should have said. Someone along the lines of, like how you chased out Dad. He always rebuked this thought in his head, but that day he made the grave mistake of uttering that line out loud. Needless to say, his mother and her companion tore him up so bad, there was barely anything left of his clothes, including that expensive leather jacket. He eventually got a new one, which is the same one he wears now, but man, it burned a hole in his wallet. After snapping back from his memories, he noticed Naruto and Choji already eating. His mouth hanging wide open, completely appalled that his friends started without him. He decided to start eating twice as fast just to gain grounds and catch up with his friend. He didn't even wait to cool down the meat before chomping into it, which caused him to sorely burn his tongue. Much to his pain and grief, this sadly ended up costing him even more time, ultimately leaving him out a significant portion of the meat. Open corner bracket 29th of April. The next day rolled around faster than wanted. Naruto spent the better half of the morning visiting the bank, withdrawing the amount necessary for Tenten. He found his way to Tenten's shop with his wallet, Gama-chan, bursting at the seams. He opened the door, the bell chiming upon his arrival. Tenten turned her sight upward, catching a glimpse of the blonde shinobi. "Hey Naruto." Naruto casually raised his hand in response to Tenten. "Yo Tenten, how is your day going?" "Going as good as it can. I take it you brought the money." "Yeah," Naruto simply replied, pulling out his frog pouch. Tenten let out a giggle as she saw the frog. "Still using that old thing?" "Yeah, even after all of its wear and tear, it still hangs on." Naruto placed his frog pouch on the counter and pried open its mouth. Several large bills burst forth. How did you even fit that much in him without tearing the seams? Very carefully. Tenten couldn't help but laugh. She could only imagine Naruto trying to stuff so much into the poor wallet. She sat there and counted the money. She knew Naruto wouldn't try to swindle her, but she still didn't trust his counting skills. Sure enough, the full amount is there. Okay, Naruto. The minerals should be here in a few days. It will take at least another week for me to finish the Tenkanai. That's fine Tenten. I'm in no rush to get them. Naruto grabbed his near-empty wallet and tucked it away. A moment passed in silence between the two, causing a slight awkward tension between the two. Naruto was never really that good at idle conversation. He knew that just to ask questions, and give answers, but he always had a harder time with those of the opposite gender, whether he viewed them as friends, or slightly more. Naruto shifted his feet slightly, catching Tenten to notice his tension. What got him all fidgety? Naruto mulled over his thoughts for a minute, wondering if he should ask her or not. Hey, Tenten, have you eaten yet? A small smile found its way to her face. Ah, he's worried about me. Tenten took a pose, acting like she was really pondering. Naruto quickly lifted both his hands up, waving them frantically. You don't have to join me. I just thought that you might not have left the store yet to go eat and stuff, so I wanted to invite you and all. Tenten could help but chuckle at Naruto. He always talked goofy when he got nervous. He's too nice. She decided to stop messing around with him and nodded. Sure, I would be happy to eat with you. Naruto passively scratched the back of his neck, blushing lightly as he gave his trademark grin. You wanna go now? Tenten nodded in agreement as she followed him out the door, placing a sign up and locking her store behind her. Naruto led the way to the main dining district of the village. While there were numerous restaurants throughout the entire village, this was where most of them were at. During the walk to this district, Naruto informed Tenten of all the places he's been to during his recent travels. She was impressed that he left and started seeing the world, much like his sensei, Jiraiya-sama. She never really knew the man, but she still knew about him. One of the 3 legendary Sanins of the Leaf Village. She knew that he died while fighting pain. Naruto was devastated when he found out. She knew he saw him as a father, much like how viewed Tsunade as a mother. Even after losing such close people to him, he was still smiling. She looked to him for strength. She looked to him for guidance. When she heard Neji died, she couldn't believe it. She wouldn't believe it until she saw his body after the war. She lost the man she fell in love with. They never had the chance to properly date, so she can't say she lost her boyfriend. Nonetheless, she lost someone she loved all the same. When she was falling into the depths of despair, when everyone else was there standing by her side to get her through, it was ultimately Naruto who saved her. It wasn't him alone, but he did the most for her. He did the one thing no one else could have pulled off. He made her love him. He dated her while she was depressed. He would work day and night to get her through her sorrows. He toiled through the weeks, bringing smiles and laughter into her life every day. He would caress her hair. He would hold her in a warm embrace. No matter how much time passed, he never complained. She knew she wasn't easy to deal with. She was highly emotional and would cry at the drop of a hat, but Naruto stayed by her side. Waking early in the morning to see her. Staying up late to say good night when she fell asleep. He was always there for her to lean on without fail. He was the most dependable boyfriend. If she wanted it, the two of them would have never have broken up. Naruto was just that nice. He didn't mind spending his life with her, not the slightest, but Tenten still felt guilty. She felt like she forced him into being her boyfriend figure through guilt, no matter how many times he said otherwise. She couldn't tie him down like that, so once she was better, she broke it off and said thanks. He was saddened, but he understood. He always liked her, just a little, and it grew and grew, more and more, as they dated longer and longer. His affections towards her was always genuine. It started with helping her get over Neji. He wanted to do everything he could to help her, but over time, it grew from that to simply wanting to care for her. Even after they broke up. Even after he understood why she did it. Even after telling her that he felt no guilt. That he truly did love her. Even after all that, he knew he had to move on for her. He didn't want her to feel guilty anymore, so he moved on. Months passed and she was torn up when she heard that Hinata and him were dating. She knew she had no place to be jealous, but after seeing the warmth on his face when she saw the two of them together, she receded. It was only temporary. She managed to pull herself out of that rut by herself that time. She knew it was better for him, and her Hinata. She knew how long Hinata was chasing after Naruto. Another reason why she ended things with Naruto. She knew how much her friend loved him. She not only felt guilty for forcing him to be her boyfriend in replacement of Neji, but she felt she stole him from Hinata. To this day, she still didn't understand why Naruto chose to be with her over Hinata after the war, so she reasoned it was because she manipulated him. Even so, after Hinata ended it, Tenten lost it. She saw the expression in Naruto's face, or should she say lack thereof. That very day, she ripped Hinata a new one. She was pissed that the man she loved was going through so much pain, even after she herself put Naruto through the same pain. Needlessly to say, this put a large strain on the friendship between Hinata and Tenten, if you can even call it that nowadays. They would be polite with each other, but nothing more. They only talked to each other when necessary. Hinata didn't forgive her for stealing Naruto from her after the war, and Tenten didn't forgive her for breaking Naruto's heart. Even so, with the pain of two failed relationships, Naruto still smiled. She guessed that those failed relationships was one of the reasons he left the village to see the world multiple times. He needed time to himself to get over his pains. If he didn't, the awkward tension between them would always be there. Even so, after those few years, they've become friends just like before. A little awkward, yes, but still good friends. And here they were, eating out together in a restaurant. Sharing laughters and memories together, catching up on lost time. This relationship they had was closer than friends, but farther than lovers. A bond unique to them. Not even Naruto and Hinata had this bond between them. Not even the pink-haired kunoichi he chased after for so long had this close of a bond with him. This was her most treasured bond with the man that would stand by her and help her no matter what. Open corner bracket 30th of April. The sun was rising, bring forth its unrivaled brilliance from a great distance. It cast its light upon the whole village, bathing it in warmth, signifying the start of a new day. The sun, casting its rays upon every surface it can, found its way into a humble apartment. Sleepy eyes began to stir from the intensity of the bright sun. Groggily, the shinobi with its hair matching in color of the yellow sun stirred. Cursing the sun for its brilliance, the ninja finally woke. Recollection of his dream has all but faded from his mind, but it mattered none to him. With a great yawn, the man rubbed his eyes as he looked at the calendar. One more day. The man thought to himself as he checked the date. One more day until she's back. Naruto grunted as he pulled himself from his bed. His golden locks all a mess from sleeping soundlessly the past 8 hours. He slowly shuffled his way to the restroom for his daily morning routine. After refreshing his body and clearing his thoughts, he threw on a casual pair of black cargo pants and a burnt orange t-shirt with the Uzumaki's clan symbol printed in red on the back, large and proudly. He slipped on his black shinobi boots and wore a wristband he had for a long time. He knew it was time to talk to Hiashi once again. It has come to him to take the training to the next level. He was still debating whether he should or not, considering he was still a bit uncertain about Hanabi's apparent thirst for power, but it seemed to have calmed down over the few weeks. She has built her chakra levels high enough to where she could safely summon 3, maybe 4 cage buncheons. At least, she should be able to. He hasn't taught her the jutsu yet. That will also be part of the next step of her training. He grinned lightly at his imagination to what Hiashi's reaction will be. He was sure he could convince him, but he also knew Hiashi would want everything pertaining to the seal he would think about putting on Hanabi. Naruto looked over to his table. A large amount of scrolls laid out, unrolled across the wooden round table, each scroll crisscrossing in every direction. The memories of last night's event washed over his mind. He spent hours after eating with Tenten, looking over the scrolls. Some were his clan's scroll, some were his own, with his personal notes to help understand the parts of the scrolls he didn't quite get after researching for countless hours in Konoha's library. The memory of how dusty the air was in that library almost made him sneeze. Almost. He sighed, kicking himself mentally for not cleaning up the mess of unfurled scrolls before going to sleep. He grabbed one scroll that had a repeated array of simple sealing symbols drawn upon the surface. He rolled up the rest of the scrolls and placed them upon each of the sealing symbols. He made a half-tiger hand seal and the scrolls vanished with a puff of smoke. He rolled the scroll and slipped it into his pants pocket. His stomach roared with hunger, so before setting out, he decided to have a quick, simple breakfast. Upon devouring his victim that was the bowl of cereal and toast, he grabbed his headband, tied it around his forehead and headed out. Naruto arrived at the Hyuga compound. A new set of faces were standing guard at the main entrance this morning. "Good morning Uzumaki-sama," one of the Hyuga guards replied cheerfully. "Anything we may help you with?" "Absolutely," Naruto gleefully replied with a wide grin. "I need to speak to Hiashi Hyuga. Can you guide me?" Naruto requested of the guard as he was not overly familiar with the layout of the Hyuga's grounds. The guards glanced to each other. Each of them raised an eyebrow in curiosity in what the village's hero would want to talk to their clan's head about. No matter what it was, it had to be important. The other guard spoke up this time. "I can't guarantee the head will see you, but I'm more than willing to take you to him to ask for a moment of his time." "That's good enough. Thank you." The guards nodded to each other before the one on the left dismissed himself from his post. Naruto quietly followed the guard through many turns. Even as he tried to keep track when he turned left, and when he stayed straight, he still quickly ended up losing track of the directions. "Damn, I need to write this stuff down if I'm going to have a chance walking through here without getting lost. Everything looks too much alike for me to pick out any landmarks in this damn place." After giving up and mindlessly following, the guard stopped suddenly. He raised his hand, signaling to come to a halt. Naruto snapped back to reality and caught this gesture just in time before bumping into the guard. Finally back from his thoughts, he started to overhear some voices from beyond the paper-thin double doors. An elderly voice spoke in haste. "Hiashi-san, we must do this soon." An well-worn voice of Hiashi penetrated past the paper doors, clearly annoyed with the other person in the room. "I will decide when to do it. But Hinata-san has already wed and is pregnant. As per the clan's tradition, the seal must be placed on Hanabi-san. Not only that, she should be wed as well. Do you forget your place? I am the head of this clan. You already stepped past your boundaries when you went against what I said and forced my first daughter's hand. I will not let you do this a second time, understood? Yikes. I felt the bite in that. Naruto visibly tensed up by the tone of Hiyashi's voice. Hiyashi-sama, you forget why you are even the head in the first place. We already allowed you to keep the seal off one of your daughters long enough. The other voice said, clearly trying to insinuate something. No, I dare not forget. That is why I will do my best to keep the same fate from falling upon either of my daughters. It is your job to do what your elders tell you to do. No, Hiyashi called out in a warning voice. It is my job to listen to the elders. I am the head, and my rules are to be absolute. You are veering too far from our clan's traditions, your actions are becoming too extreme, and I will not tolerate it, Hiyashi-sama. I care not if you will tolerate it. Now, you are dismissed. A grunt echoed out as the paper doors opened. Visibly angry, the old man looked to his right, noticing both the guard and his escort, Naruto. His expression became even more fierce. He scowled at the Jinchuriki before him before abruptly turning 180, walking away. What the hell did I do to piss off that old geezer? Pull that stick out of your why don't ya? A heavy sigh escaped from the room which Naruto still couldn't see, but knew it had to come from Hiyashi. The guard lightly knocked against the open doors, alerting Hiyashi of his presence. Yes. Hiyashi called out no name. Uzumaki-sama wishes to speak to you. Another heavy sigh came forth from the room. I shall see him. The guard about-faced and nodded towards Naruto, gesturing that he could go in. The guard quickly proceeded to smartly walk off. Naruto's eyes followed the guard. He didn't notice, but the guard had a militaristic march to him. Man, they must be really uptight. Naruto silently commented to himself before walking into the room, seeing Heishi visibly messaging his temple. Safe to assume you overheard our discussion, Naruto-sama. Hehe. Naruto awkwardly chuckled as he scratched the back of his head nervously. Yeah, sorry about that, Hiyashi. Couldn't help but to overhear that through such thin walls. Hiyashi lifted his head and gave a steady, unreading gaze to Naruto. I wasn't aware we were on first name basis, Naruto-sama. Catching the heavy hint dropped on his foot. Sorry, Hiyashi-sama. You know I'm not all that good. Well, Naruto paused for a moment before catching why Hiyashi said well. Damn grammar freak. He let out a light sigh before continuing. Well at being respectful. I commend your efforts for at least trying. Hiyashi somberly stated. So what do I owe this pleasure, Naruto-sama? Naruto closed the double doors behind him, knowing it still wouldn't make much of a difference, reflecting how easily he heard the previous discussion. I wish to enter the next stage of Hanabi's training when she returns from her escort mission. Hiyashi's ears perked at the lack of honorifics for his youngest daughter, but continued on. And what does that entail? Heishi questioned. Knowing Naruto-sama, it's probably something completely ridiculous. I want to teach her the Kage Bunshin and place a seal on her. A what? No. Hiyashi stated firmly. Oh come on, you didn't even let me, Naruto cried out excitedly. No. Heishi stated firmly yet again. At least let me explain the seal. Naruto cried out for a second time. Hiyashi leveled his gaze with his daughter's sensei. Last time I checked, you had no experience with seals. Well, I don't have much experience with seals, but I am good with some. Hiyashi mentally sighed as he massaged his temple. What the hell is wrong with this guy? Hiyashi removed his hands from his temples and asked his next question. What does the seal do? Happy you asked. Naruto excited replied, leaving traces of apprehension upon Hiyashi's otherwise stoic face. This guy is far too energetic. The seal will train the body's muscles, increase the chakra reserves, and help with chakra control. Hiyashi instantly shaped his face to show no trace of his inner emotions. What the hell? Hiyashi composed himself and trained his voice before speaking. How? Naruto grinned wider than he had ever seen before, pulling out a single scroll and unrolled it upon the table separating them. Hiyashi glanced at the unfurled scroll. He noticed several simple array of sealing symbols throughout the scroll. Before he could even raise a question, Naruto spread a bloody thumb through 8 of the sealing symbols. Naruto formed a half-tiger seal and focused on his chakra-infused blood. He swiped his right hand outward as he gave the command. Unseal. Smoke burst forth from the scroll, leaving 8 other scrolls of all different colors in its wake. Naruto brushed 7 of the 8 rolled-up scrolls off the desk as he rolled up the only open one before also brushing it off. Hiyashi was visibly appalled that Naruto would just start making a small mess in his space without even thinking, but before he could reprimand Naruto on his actions, he noticed the only scroll on the table was now fully open. This scroll has my personal notes about the chakra counterflow seal. Naruto picked out a different scroll from the pile laying on the ground and unrolled it on the table, right above the other one. This is my notes regarding the weight seal, and my variant, the movement resistant seal. Naruto picked out a third scroll and laid it out on the table, finally taking up the full width of the table. This is notes about combining the 2 into 1 seal. It's what I use. Hiyashi looked up, meeting his eyes with Naruto's. I know of the weight seal. Both Guy and Lee use them. I do not know of this chakra counterflow or the physical resistance seal though. That's because it's one of my clan's personal seals, along with my own seal. What does the chakra counterflow seal do? Just to be sure, you are familiar with seals, correct? I would assume so since your clan uses their own personal seal. Naruto questioned with a slight tone of disdain in his voice. Hiyashi solemnly nodded. He picked up on Naruto's voice. He read the underneath of the underneath. Naruto hated the seal the Hyuga clan forces upon the branch members. He did not approve of it, but had no right to say anything against it. It takes the excess chakra in the body, and makes it flow against itself. This creates a resistance for the chakra to flow, making jutsu harder to perform. Hiyashi looked at the blonde shinobi across with a quizzical look in his eyes. Why would you want to do that? For 2 reasons. Naruto simply replied, but gaining Hiyashi's full attention. First reason is to increase the chakra reserves. Your reserves increase over time the more you use your chakra. Repeatedly draining your chakra will force your body to create more. You can also create more by increasing your physical and spiritual energies in the body through training. The second reason is for increased chakra control. If you can maintain high chakra control while there is heavy resistance against the flow, imagine how much better you will be once you remove that resistance. It will take a little to adjust afterwards, but the rewards are worth it. And what is the purpose of combining the chakra counterflow with the physical resistance seal? As stated earlier, you can also grow your chakra by increasing your physical energy, by training the body and its physical endurance, and increasing your spiritual energy, through meditation and experience and mental endurance. The weight seal applies weight to an object. The physical resistance seal evenly distributes weight to the entire body, creating a physical resistance to all bodily motions. This will train every muscle through daily practice. Hiyashi narrowed his eyes as he asked his next question. Can these be easily removed? Yes. The seals can be removed or placed into an inactive state. With his eyes steeled, Hiyashi asked the most important question of their discussion. What are the risks involved? Naruto sighed heavily. He knew this question was going to come up. Nothing. Nothing. Hiyashi asked, ing an eyebrow, pressing the disbelief. Naruto sighed heavily. Nothing unless too much is applied too fast. And what would happen if it is applied too fast? Hiyashi could imagine what would happen, but he still had to confirm. Severe tearing of the muscles and destruction of the chakra circulatory system. Naruto solemnly gave his answer. That's a very, very heavy price. Hiyashi stated as shadows casted over his eyes. It is. That's why I will crank up the difficulty gradually. Can you ensure you won't mess this up? I promise I won't. I don't want a promise, Naruto-sama. I want you to give me a 100% guarantee that nothing will happen to my youngest daughter. Hiyashi-sama, with all due respect, I can't give you any more than my word on my Nindo that I won't put Hanabi in any risk. That's a second time he didn't use honorifics for my daughter. He gave a heavy sigh. I can't rightfully reprimand him on that. She is his student even if she is a member of the house of one of the 4 noble clans of this village. He knew how serious Naruto was about his Nindo. The whole village knew. He sighed heavily again before giving his answer. Understood. I give you permission, but do be careful. Naruto collected his scrolls and placed them once more on the single scroll with an array of sealing symbols. Before he sealed them, Hiyashi asked a question. You only showed me 3 of the scrolls. What are they other 5 for? They are the actual scrolls of my clan regarding the sealing array for the 2 seals, the chance for them both for when I perform the sealing, and further notes on how to combine seals together. Why did you unseal them in the first place? He could guess why, but he still wanted confirmation. To show that if you really wanted to know, I would show you even my clan's own scrolls to convince you. Hiyashi gazed at Naruto with respect. Something he rarely did. He's willing to give up a few of his clan's secrets to further train his student. Either he's really stupid or really brave. Maybe both. Hiyashi waved his hand. Your faith has been proven well enough. I will not pry any further into your clan's secrets unless I must. Naruto bowed and gave his thanks. He sealed away the scrolls before leaving the room, taking it with him. Upon his exit, Hiyashi's voice called out. Naruto-sama, please do not betray my trust in you. Naruto uttered only 2 words. I won't. Even though it was only 2 words, 2 simple words, they were cemented. Nothing will break them. He wouldn't allow it. Later that day, Hanabi and her team filed into the town, passing through the main gates. Decked out in a tan jacket with a white fur hood, the black sleeves of her jacket reached down to her elbows. Underneath the partially unzipped jacket was her black mesh t-shirt, the sleeves extending slightly farther than the short-sleeve jacket. From her hands to her elbow was wrapped in a white cloth. Her pair of black pants extended halfway down her calf. Fishnet sleeves covered the distance from the bottom of her pants to the top of her black ninja boots. She smiled as they passed the gate, making their way to the Hokage office to give a report to Tsunade. Their mission was easy to say the least. Her team expected some combat, but nothing happened. It was an easy walk to and from the land of waves. They even got a chance to cross the Great Naruto Bridge. She heard stories, but she didn't actually believe the bridge was real. The village welcomed them happily, being ninjas of the same village of the shinobi the bridge was named after. The town was bustling with business when they dropped off their escort, who was hoping to set up shop in the town. Shorter than she expected, her team leader, Anko, and the rest of her team were already climbing the stairs to the Hokage office. After this, she would report home, inform her father of the successful C-rank mission and find her sensei. Just as Anko was about to knock on the solid double oak doors, there was a clattering of sounds and several yells. You want to do what? A clearly feminine voice ranged out from the door. Come one Ba-chan. A voice unmistakably belonged to a male ranged out. Hell no, Gaki. A loud thunk could be heard, along with the visual of a dent in the wooden door protruding to the other side. Ba-chan. You have to be careful with those paperweights. You're going to kill someone with them. The only one I'm going to kill is you. Another thunk ranged out. Clearly it missed and hit the other door. The Hokage wants to kill someone. Oh man, he must have done something wrong. And where does that person get off, calling her grandma? She's the Hokage for crying out loud. Hanabi looked up to her leader. She noticed something odd with Anko. A grin was stretching across her face. A grin that she was most uncomfortable with seeing. I already got permission from Hiyashi, Ba-chan. The mood suddenly changed, even though the team couldn't see anything. Why didn't you tell me that earlier? Surely enough, another paperweight slammed against the right door. Ba-chan, if you keep throwing those paperweights, you're going to break a door, Again, an audible sigh could be heard through the damaged doors. Whose fault do you think it is that my doors keep breaking? Surely enough, with the fourth paperweight thrown, a door burst off its hinges and came crashing against the wall behind it. The team peeked around the door to see who it was. Anko knew who it was all along. The sight just confirmed it for her. Found my new toy. So, the blonde male asked a question. Can I? The blonde woman sighed heavily. You can, as long as someone else who is experienced with seals is there. She looked up and caught a glance to the four people standing by the now missing door. A grin stretched across her face as she saw the Tokubetsu Jonin. Ah, Anko. Perfect timing. Come on in. Tsunade waved, instructing her to bring her team in with her. Anko paced her way to Naruto. Well, if it isn't the hero. Oh shit, it's the crazy snake lady. Naruto glanced around, not knowing exactly where to look considering her all too revealing attire. Hi Anko. She wrapped her arms around Naruto and whispered into his ears. I'm a bit pent up after this mission. Mind helping me relieve my stress? I'll even make it up to you for scaring you in that Chunin exam all those years ago. With interest. Hanabi just gaped at her sensei, who was currently flirting, quite heavily, with her other sensei. She knew Anko had a bit of a wild side, for lack of a better term, but she didn't realize just how bold her wild side was. God damn, she's like a dog in heat with how horny she is. I swear, she's gets off more by teasing than actually having. Crazy snake lady. Before Naruto could give a verbal reply to either accept or deny her gesture, a loud cough was heard, unmistakably from the Hokage. The fifth Hokage only said a single word. Report. Anko swiftly stepped away from Naruto and stood at attention. Escort mission to Land of Waves was successful. No encounter with enemies. Good to hear. Your team is dismissed. Anko and Naruto. Stay. Tsunade said with a final tone. Hanabi glanced to her blonde sensei, seeking for an answer. Head home. I'll find you later. Hanabi replied with a simple nod before leaving. She wanted to know what the Hokage had to say to her two sensei, but from Tsunade's voice, she wasn't allowed to be there. Why did Naruto say he had my father's permission? She questioned herself as she walked down the stairs. Only way to find out is to ask father, I guess. The last things she heard before was the cries of indecency and perverted, along with disgrace and unbelievable. All intermittent with the sounds of sizable or heavy objects being thrown against the walls. Hanabi sighed heavily as she walked towards the main gate. She already informed her father about the completion of her mission. A small, and she mean very, very small smile was on his face, for the briefest of moments. She also asked her father about Naruto receiving permission from him, but he stayed silent on the matter. Her mood was visibly beginning to sour. If her father wouldn't tell her, then she had to go ask her sensei. And she had a feeling he wouldn't either for some reason. So she decided to wait by the entrance of the Hyuga compound. Surely enough, she made a sound decision by doing so. In the distance she saw, to her displeasure, both her teachers making their way. The purple-haired Jonin making obvious passes at the blonde Jonin, which he returned with awkward laughs, trying to shrug off her attempts, each time increasing the size of her grin. Naruto, seeing his student waiting for him at the gate, took this time make a distraction and waved her over. Hey, Hanabi, let's go. I'll treat you to dinner. Are you gonna treat me too, stud? Anko howled out a laughter at Naruto's blush. Hanabi ran up to her sensei, wondering where they were going. Let's go to my dango shop. Anko took the lead, grabbing Hanabi's hand before she could say no. But I was going to. She's my student too, Naruto. And I just finished my mission with her, so I'm going to treat her. Naruto blinked a few times. Damn, she takes charge too fast. And you can treat me. Anko called out with a laugh, motioning Naruto to follow. Damn it. Naruto sighed heavily as he followed. He knew it was best for both him and Anko for him to do what she said. She was a handful any other way. The trio arrived at Anko's favorite shop. This was hers Ichiraku's. To her, nothing could come close to her dangos. Especially the Anko and Mitarashi dangos. Fitting her name as that of her favorite types of dangos. Stupid dango girl. Naruto muttered under his breath, in obvious displeasure of not being able to eat at Ichiraku's. I don't wanna hear it, ramen boy. Anko laughed as she saw the displeasure on his face. She couldn't help but toy with him. He had the best reactions to her antics. Go ahead and make your order, Hanabi. It's on me. Even though Hanabi didn't have the best relation with her sensei, she was still happy to have her. Especially at times like these. She walked up to the counter and ordered for 3 servings of chichi dangos. Several minutes later, a plate appeared with 3 skewers of chichi dangos, which Anko Mitarashi paid for. Yo ramen freak. I'm ordering. I heard you, dango freak. Naruto bantered back, none all too seriously. Anko playfully stuck her tongue out as she ordered 2 servings of Anko dangos and another 2 of Mitarashi dangos. Naruto decided to order 2 servings of the Bakken dangos and another 2 servings of Anko dangos. 2 separate plates slid out moments later, each holding the orders. Naruto reluctantly pulled out his frog wallet and promptly paid for the dangos. The 3 of them sat at the nearby bench and began eating their respective dangos. Good job on that mission, Hanabi. Anko remarked between bites of her dangos. It was easy enough. All we did was walk there and back. Yes, but you were able to keep your Byakugan open for a much longer time than previously. I bet we have a certain blonde ninja to thank for that. Anko shifted her gaze to Naruto, who glanced back at Anko as he was eating his dangos. Maybe I should thank you personally. She shifted next to him and whispered the next 2 words into his ears. In bed. Naruto leaned slightly away, blushing. Anko, sometimes you go too far. Ah, you think all my advances are just a game? What if I told you I really meant them? I'm hurt. Anko shifted her gaze down and she started fidgeting with her fingers with a bashful look on her face. Hanabi and Naruto were both awestruck by Anko's sudden change in demeanor. It couldn't possibly be true. Not with how she always teasing me. But, that demeanor. That look in her eyes. It couldn't possibly be. Naruto's face began to flush pink. An evil smirk stretched across her face and she let out a howling laughter. It is too fun to tease you, Naruto. Naruto pouted as he started eating his dangos. Just as he was on the last 2, Anko swiped them from him and swiftly ate them with a smirk on her face. Naruto gaped at her, completely in disbelief that Anko just ate the last of his dangos. Yo dango freak. Why you go and do that? Because you know I love the Anko dangos the most. She shifted even closer. Of course, I wouldn't mind tasting your pair of dangos. Anko whispered the innuendo into Naruto's ear. Anko-sensei. That's too much. Hanabi finally spat out, completely appalled at her teacher's behavior in public. She's getting way too far out of hand. I never seen her tease anyone this much before. Ah. Anko couldn't help but coo at Hanabi's remark after seeing how blushed she was. Maybe you want me to focus on you. She then shifted even closer, placing her lips near her little student's ear. I'll be sure to take my time and toy with you slowly. Anko felt a pull at the back of her collar. The hand pulled her back. Okay, Anko. Enough is enough, Naruto said firmly. Fine, fine. I had enough antics for the day. I'll catch you later, Naruto-kun. Anko gave a wink before running off laughing. Naruto let out a heavy sigh before turning to Hanabi. You okay? Anko can get a bit out of hands at times. Hanabi breathed deeply a few times, reining in her emotions slowly but surely. Yes, I'm fine. My question is, how do you deal with her? Just do my best to shrug it off. You'll learn in time with more exposure to her antics. Just one tip. Yes, sensei. Don't go with the flow. I made that mistake. She started groping me and I seriously thought she was going to have her way with me in public. She won't back down, I promise you that. Hanabi blushed slightly as the scene of Anko and Naruto having fierce appeared in her head. God damn it. Full stop. Think no farther, Hanabi. Hanabi quickly resumed her deep breathing, gaining control of her thoughts once again. Hanabi gave a deep sigh before asking her long-awaited question. I overheard you talking to Tsunade earlier about receiving permission from my father about something. May I ask about what that would be? Naruto smirked in reply. You'll find out tomorrow morning. Hanabi's mood deeply soured once again. Damn it. I knew he was going to do that. I knew it. Hanabi sighed heavily. She knew she wouldn't win, so she would give up. I guess I should head home now. When should we meet up tomorrow? 0800, sharp. Training Grounds 44. The Forest of Death. Are you kidding me? I have to go there again. Hanabi sighed heavily at the recollection of her Chunin exam. Least to say it was not pleasant. She was wrong. It was pleasant. As pleasant as it is to sleep on a cactus. Okay. I'll see you there then. Good night, sensei. Good night, Hanabi. See you tomorrow. With that, the student and the teacher split ways, each heading towards their respective homes. Open corner bracket 1st of May. Hanabi grumbled as the morning's sunlight poured into her room, stirring her from the sweet embrace that slumber held her in. She grunted once again in discontent. No matter how many times she went through this tedious ordeal, she would come to hate mornings every time. After battling for 5 minutes, she decided that all hope was lost and there was no chance at winning. She begrudgingly sat up, much to her displeasure, wiping the sleep from her near-featureless eyes. A gentle yawn issued forth as she stretched the stiff portions of her body. She swung her legs over the side of her bed and stood up. Just like every other morning, she began the tradition of showering, brushing, and changing into a clear pair of her clothes. Today, she opted to wear the same style of clothes from yesterday, just a more clean variant. Regardless as to what is to happen, she knew it would be a good day. After coming back from the C rank, she was given a mandatory 1-week break. The trek to the land of waves was long and slow, since it had to be done at the pace of a civilian. She began missing her village along with her blonde sensei. Eager to learn new things, she left her room and grabbed a quick bite to eat before leaving her compound with a piece of toast in her hand to eat on the way there. With a smile, she took the last few bites of her buttered toast as she sped her way to the main gates. She had to leave the village's wall to reach Training Grounds 44, or better known as the Forest of Death. In order to leave, she had to check out with the gate guards. Luckily she was a Chunin, so she didn't have to have a Jonin with her when she left the walls. She dashed at a quick speed, making her way to the entrance of the Forest of Death. A training field so large it would be impossible to miss as long as you head in its general direction. It was originally created for survival training. Toss a team or two in there, pick them up a week later. Usually reserved for Chunin or higher. Genin would likely get themselves killed from the different types of beasts that laid lurking within. I really hope this won't be survival training. Hanabi silently prayed as she neared towards the main gate of the grounds. There were numerous other gates surrounding the parameters, but this was the most common one as it was next to one of the 3 rivers that flowed as one through the training ground. Sure enough, she spotted her sensei. Both of them. Enko seemed to be eating the last of her dangos and began playing with the wooden stick, while Naruto was making a few gestures with his hands, all the while making the Tokubetsu Jonin laugh. Hanabi felt a pang of irritation at the sight, but quickly pushed it away. What goes on between them is no business of mine. Why is she here, would be the better question to ask. She didn't have anything against her sensei with the older kunoichi, but she didn't understand why she would be here when it was time for her to train with her blonde sensei. Naruto glanced his way towards Hanabi's rushing figure and waved once their eyes met. Hey Hanabi, you made it a bit early. Naruto stood up and walked over to the locked gate with Anko and Hanabi in tow. I didn't want to be late, so I thought I should show up with at least some time to spare. That's a good thought to have. At least you're better than Kakashi-sensei in that aspect. Naruto chuckled as he thought of his white-haired sensei, and all the antics he created by showing up late every time. Anko, if you so will. Naruto stepped away as Anko grinned. Certainly. She pulled out a key from her trench coat and slipped it into the gate, turning the key. A single clang softly echoed out from the lock, signifying it was now unlocked. She pushed the gate open and walked in. Naruto and Hanabi silently followed suit as they began walking alongside one of the rivers. Naruto-sensei, what is it that we will be doing here? Naruto gave a small smile in reply. You'll find out soon enough. With that, the two Jonin broke off at a breakneck fast pace, leaving the Chunin alone for just a second. Did they just? Those, clearly seeing them still within her field of vision, she too took off, trying her best to keep up. The trio reached the tower that was located 5 kilometers, little over 3 miles, into the training ground. I can't believe you just took off like that without even giving a warning. Hanabi panted out, trying her best to catch her breath. Both Jonins busted out laughing. If we wanted to leave you, we would have ran faster. Naruto teased his disciple as he pushed open one of the doors. They walked into a large circular room. To the side, there was a spiraling staircase hugging the outer wall, leading up. Naruto pointed up, signaling for them to go up a few floors. Hey, Hanabi, have you heard the rumor of the 4th floor of this tower? Naruto asked, his face strangely stoic. Hanabi tilted her head in a quizzical manner. No, I haven't heard anything. She stated as they reached the 2nd floor. They say that whoever reaches the 4th floor of the tower in the training ground 44, the mood suddenly became ominous as Naruto's face darkened when he turned back to his student. Will die. Naruto finished his sentence with a dark ominous tone. Chills ran up Hanabi's spine. He has got to be joking. There is no way the 4th floor is cursed. I mean, it is the forest of death, but still, Hanabi coughed. I know you're lying. Oh. Naruto raised an eyebrow as they reached the landing of the 3rd floor. Well, why don't we just go up another level and test out that rumor? Naruto grinned as he went up first. He has to be kidding. I know he's going to pull a prank. I'm not scared of some silly rumor. I'll go up there and foil his prank. Hanabi steeled herself as she carefully watched the blonde's back as she climbed the stair. When they reached the top, Naruto didn't move at all. Why isn't he turning around? I know you're about to do something, Naruto, you won't fool. Just then, a pair of hands snuck around Hanabi's back. Fingers pronged, ready to attack, they reached viciously for her sides, attacking her. Eep! Hanabi quickly hissed out as she jumped 10 feet forward. She instantly landed, doing a 180 to see who attacked her from behind. To her surprise, Anko was there, her fingers moving seemingly independent of each other. A scowl grew across her face as Naruto and Anko busted out laugh. That's not funny, Anko-sensei. Oh, on the contrary, it was very funny. Anko purred out, each word drenching in a different sense of pleasure. She reached her hand up, receiving a high five in return from the blonde ninja. Good job, Anko. Good job. Hanabi pouted a bit at the older ninja's jokes on her. Well, enough is enough. Might as well get started. Naruto commented as he faced Anko. Mind lighting up the room? Roger. Anko swiftly ran through 6 seals. Rat, tiger, dog, ox, rabbit, tiger. Anko inhaled, filling her cheeks with chakra. Fire style. Phoenix flower jutsu. Several balls of fire shot out of her mouth, each racing to different areas of the circular room. Each of them hit a torch, bringing forth light into the room. The room wasn't furnished at all. No doors, no windows. Only a set of stairs next to them and the bare, concrete ground. Naruto withdrew his scroll from his pocket and unfurled it across the floor. So are you going to tell me what we are doing here? Hanabi asked. We are here to put a seal on you. Hanabi's face twisted in fear. Wait, why? You can't be serious. Hanabi called out, her voice dripping with disbelief. I shouldn't. Why are you? Hanabi. Naruto called out firmly, silencing Hanabi, rooting her to the spot she stood. Sorry. I didn't mean it like that. It's not your clan's seal. It's mine. Hanabi regained composure. What do you mean your seal? I mean just that. A seal I made for training. Naruto bit his thumb. He concentrated his chakra into his blood as he smeared it across 8 of the seals on the scroll. Unseal. What does this seal do, exactly? Hanabi asked, wanted to understand what she was getting into before accepting. It will help increase your chakra reserves, increase your chakra control, and work out all your muscles. But how? Hanabi asked, not quite understanding. Naruto sighed heavily and motioned for Hanabi to sit in the center of the room as he unfurled the first of the 8 scrolls. Stay right there. I'll explain while I'm writing the seal, that way it saves us time. Okay. Hi. Hanabi returned an affirmative. She did ask Naruto to make her strong, and he was doing just that. I have no reason to not trust him, but at the same time, I can't just blindly do what he says either. That would be foolish for a ninja to do. Naruto unraveled a scroll that wasn't opened before at Hiyashi. He glanced between the 2 of 3 scrolls pertaining to chakra counterflow seal. And begun the tedious and arduous work of drawing out the seal immediately around Hanabi as he began the first makeup of the seal. Anko. Hanabi. Don't go blathering this off to just anyone, understood? Anko silently nodded, as she understood why. Hanabi didn't fully understood, so she thought it would be best to ask why. Why? Is it forbidden or something? Naruto let a chuckle escaped. No, not really. You do know of my clan. The Uzumaki clan to be more specific, right? I know they were a prominent clan in the village hidden by the whirling tides, in the land of waves. They were also related to the Senju, who founded our village. Yes, they were. Anything else? They should have taught more than that in history. They were skilled in fuinjutsu. So much so that everyone came to respect and fear them. Which lead to them being destroyed in war. If this gets out, well, we don't need another village destroyed, do we? Hanabi shook her head, understanding the complications behind this. Such a useful seal would be desired by all, and some would do anything to get their hands on it. Back to the seal. Naruto stated as he finished working immediately outward from behind her. The chakra counterflow seal takes a portion of the chakra inside of you and forces it to flow against itself. This spends up the chakra, and creates a resistance. You remember what I had you do for the first few weeks we trained? You had me empty out the chakra in me over and over, so I could build more. That and I made you work out, increasing your physical energy. Hanabi remembered what Naruto told her about chakra back when he was first training her. That's right, because chakra is made up of both physical and spiritual energy. So we train physical, how do we train spiritual? That's the trickier of the two to train. Anko chimed in this time. Spiritual energy can be trained through very few ways. Experience, meditating, or focusing on your emotions. Emotions. Hanabi focused her full attention on Anko that sat against the wall, who was mostly observing Naruto. Emotions are a very powerful thing. They can push you to perform beyond your limit. Of course, if you aren't careful, it can also kill you. The more powerful your emotion is, the more powerful your spiritual energy is. Same with your experience. What about meditating? Since spiritual energy comes from the mind, meditating is very important. Meditating is so you don't lose focus when you are in the middle of the fight. If you start to freak out, you can lose control. If you can quickly calm your mind, through exercising meditation, you can calm yourself even when in the heat of battle. An expression of enlightenment dawned on Hanabi's face. Oh, I see. So with this seal, I'll be able to do more physical training and chakra control in shorter time, allowing me more time to train my spiritual energy. That is correct, Hanabi. You picked this up very fast. Naruto smiled as he looked back and forth between his scrolls, currently only halfway done with the first part of the seal. So, with the chakra flowing against itself, that will force the body to generate more to overcome the resistance, and when using chakra, I will need to gain better control of my chakra to use it effectively, despite the resistance. Anko whistled at Hanabi's remarkable pace to piece the clues together. Damn. Top of the class really means something, huh? Hanabi blushed slightly at her sensei's comment. I do my best. Hanabi waited a moment before asking another question. So what is the other part of the seal? That would be the weight seal. Or a variant of it. You mean the same seal Guy and Lee use? Anko asked. Yeah, but they take it to the extreme. Me. Not so much. Naruto's comment earned a small chuckle from both Kunoichi, as they couldn't argue that the two green beasts of Konoha do indeed take their training to the extremes. So what is this variant that you speak of? Anko quizzed Naruto, seemingly becoming more interested in poking his brain to satisfy her curiosity. The physical resistance seal. This seal adds weight to every part of your body, causing resistance for every moment you make. Ah, I see why it's a variant. Instead of placing the weight seal to an inanimate object to increase its weight, you change the seal to where you can apply the entire weight on our skin. You would be correct in that, Anko. How did you get that to work? Hanabi asked as she watched her sensei finish the first seal. Carefully. Naruto smirked. Anko called out his bluff. You probably botched it a lot and ended up hurting yourself before you got it to work, didn't you? Naruto gave only replied with a sheepish grin, neither confirming nor denying Anko's accusation. Anko sighed heavily. Good think it's difficult to kill you. Anyone else probably would have died. Thank Kurama for that. Naruto scoffed. Silly furball said he won't let anyone other than himself kill me. Not even myself. Anko busted out laughing as his nickname for the demon sealed within him. While Hanabi's eyes just widen in shock. Can't believe he gave the fiercest demon a pet name. Naruto rolled up two of the scrolls regarding the chakra counterflow seal and tossed them towards Anko, who deftly caught them. He walked over and pulled out the first scroll regarding combining seals. He pulled open the scroll and studied its notes, refreshing his knowledge. He nodded to himself a few times and started to write a thin line of symbols around the current circle, seemingly to separate the first seal from whatever he would write next. He tossed the scroll behind him without a single care and reached down, collecting another two scrolls. He unrolled one and gave a studious look at the scroll. He unfurled the second scroll, containing his notes regarding the physical restriction seal. He glanced back and forth several times before he started scribbling on the floor again. 8 lines of text extended out from the circle. Naruto collapsed, wiping the sweat from brow. Okay, Hanabi. I'm done. Are you ready? Hi, Hanabi said, not moving an inch from the center of the sealing array. Okay. The seal will appear on your stomach. It will be invisible unless you actively pour chakra to the seal itself. Why the stomach? Ease of access. Naruto stated as a matter of fact. All you have to do is perform a few seals, and pat your stomach and it's off. Other than that, there isn't many other places for you to put a large seal and still easily access. Hanabi accepted the blonde's answer. Naruto motioned for Anko to come over. He handed her one of the last scrolls still sealed. Hand that to me when I'm finished with this scroll, okay? It's why I'm here. To watch you, make sure you don't mess up, and help you out. Thanks for listening to Ba-chan's request. Not like she gave me any choice. Anko huffed slightly but still grinned. Either way, still happy to help. Naruto turned towards his young underling. Okay, Hanabi. I need you to stay still. If you can, will you remove the jacket? I need to concentrate where the seal is going to be at, so that the writing will converge on that one spot. Hanabi's face visibly blushed. I only have a mesh shirt underneath. Naruto scratched the top of his head. Well, shit. That's a bit awkward. Doesn't bother me, Anko boldly stated, as she used herself as an example. You can at least unzip your jacket like me. Hanabi stared at the older Kunoichi. True, she was also wearing a mesh shirt with an open trenchcoat. She could still see the curve of her S, which made her all the more nervous. Hanabi sighed heavily. She knew Naruto wouldn't ask her if it didn't need to be done, so she begrudgingly unzipped her jacket, but refusing to take it off. Anko let out a small whistle as she saw Hanabi unzip the jacket. This girl got guts, I'll give her that. I'm definitely going to tease her about this. Anko, please refrain from any teasing. We need to focus right now while I perform the seal. Naruto stated firmly as he rested his eyes on Hanabi's midsection. Naruto held his hand in the sign of the ram and began chanting. He said each word on the scroll fully rolled out before him. With each word, the seal would shrink. The text pulled inward, wrapping itself around Hanabi's legs, making its way to its stomach, forming a circle. From the circle, the text would curve inward more so, resembling the swirl of the Uzumaki's clan symbol. Through the process, Hanabi couldn't help but notice the slight discomfort she was faced. It was a most odd sensation she felt, having ink slide across her skin. Feels so weird. Hanabi's frame shuddered slightly before she got used to it over the duration. Slowly, but surely, he continued this for the better half of an hour. His eyes only swapping back and forth between the scroll and Hanabi's midsection. The swirl continued no further, no matter how much he changed. The text did seem to grow smaller and smaller, overlapping each other until the characters formed a solid fine line. Hanabi glanced down, viewing the swirl on her stomach. Lights of fascination danced in her eyes. It still moved. The characters shuddered slightly, but remained in place, as if bound by an invisible line. Surely enough, the outer perimeter of the first part of the seal was pulled from the ground and focused on Hanabi's stomach as a swirl. He jerked his head, signaling Anko to unroll the final scroll. She gripped firmly to one edge before rolling it out in a dramatic flare before Naruto. Even more verses of chants laid before Naruto. Naruto switched his hand sign to that of the dog. The seal ring of characters meant to enable the two seals together swirled its way towards Hanabi. As the seals touched Hanabi's foot, he formed the boar seal. The text, seemingly enticed by the hand sign, charged its way faster towards Hanabi's core, encasing the swirl with a solid circle, enforcing the look of the Uzumaki's symbol even more so. He formed the sign of the snake and began the chantings of the physical restriction seal. The 8 separated lines of text slid unnaturally towards their target. The 8 lines its way around the body, lining up with the seal. Naruto formed his hands in a praying formation as he gave his final command. Seal. A warm sensation coursed through Hanabi's core. She looked down and saw the text were no longer moving, but sat still on her skin. Slowly, the black lines faded until no trace remained. She truly didn't have to worry about anyone seeing the seal. She released a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Good job, Naruto. The seal looks good, Anko remarked. I wasn't aware you were well versed in seals, sensei. Well, when your old sensei decides to leave you a gift in the form of a seal by biting you, you tend to learn about seals to stop it. Luckily it's gone now. Anko smiled. Hanabi shivered, knowing she was talking about the snake Sanin, Orochimaru. A person she was happy she never got a chance to meet. Hanabi zipped up her jacket before standing up, brushing the dust from her pants. Okay, let's get out of here. Naruto and Hanabi arrived back in the town with Anko in tow. On the way back, Naruto showed Hanabi the seals used to place the seal in an inactive state. He told her to leave the adjustments of the seal to him. The two said farewell to the Tokubetsu Jonin as she parted ways. Naruto glanced up in the shining sun that matched in color with his hair. Naruto guessed it was near noon by the position of the sun. Well, Hanabi, let's get some lunch. My treat. Ramen, Hanabi half-heartedly asked. She knew it was gonna be. You bet. Going to get myself a large serving of miso ramen with roasted pork fillet. Naruto flashed Hanabi his trademark foxy grin as both of them walked towards their next destination. Open corner bracket 2 weeks 16th of May. 2 weeks has passed since the seal was placed on Hanabi. It took Hanabi a few days to get used to the resistance she felt. No, that was a lie. Even now, she wasn't used to the resistance she was faced with. It made everything she did more difficult. She was instructed to place the seal in its inactive state on the weekends, allowing the body to recuperate, even if it was just briefly. She remembered the signs Naruto taught her for it. Simply 6 signs: ox, horse, ram, boar, dog, rat. She practiced it over and over without activating it to memorize it. It would be troublesome if she forgot how to deactivate the seal. Today was the last day before the weekend. It means it was time to spar, once again, against her sensei. He would take the defensive, while she would be offensive. Every sparring would have them switch roles. He attack, she would defend. She attack, he would defend. She came at him with everything she had, and he just brushed it off, never getting any of his tenketsu. Truly infuriating. I know he's good, but I would think I should at least be able to get one. She huffed. She tossed out a right kick while spinning counterclockwise, aiming for his side. He caught it and pushed it away. She took the momentum and spun clockwise. She planted her right leg and shot the left leg out, going for an instant left kick. Blocked. Shrugged off. Her leg landed firmly on the ground, with a slight strain around the ankle, but she ignored it. She had to push on. She had to keep attacking. To improve. To get stronger. To show that everyone that she isn't just another Hyuga. Another soon-to-be branch Hyuga. No matter how fierce she attacked, he simply gave her a smile. A kind smile, but a smile that infuriated her even more. I know he's supposed to only be defending, but damn it. The fact he doesn't attack, ever, pisses me off. She focused her frustrations into concentration, honing it to a sharp blade as she sent out her hands, striking him with a flurry of blows. Each of the countered with open palms, smacking them away from their intended destinations. She would thrust, he would rub his arms against her hands and brush them off, deviating their course, making them miss their mark every time. Her attacks were slower. She felt the weight on her limbs with every attack. She felt it on her body each time she rotated her body. I'll be honest. This seal is a good workout. Hanabi grinned as she kicked up the speed of her thrusts. Her attacks became more like a flurry of blows with the speed she was swinging her arms out. She's gotten better in just 2 weeks. I might have to crank the seal up just a little bit next week. I shouldn't. Still too soon. I can't take risks. She can't recover from her injuries like I can. I can't treat her like I would myself. Naruto grinned as he parried each blow. Even with the restrictions placed on her, she was performing almost as well as she was when he first trained her. Only once she matched her speed from before, maybe improved, would he change the difficulty of the seal. Probably the latter. Showing improvement is important for morale. If he knocked her down and made it more difficult for her every time she got as good from before, she wouldn't be happy. I think after another 2 weeks, I'll fight her with the restraints off. So she can see exactly how much she has improved. That should boost her morale enough. He narrowed his eyes as Hanabi dropped into the famous stance of the 8 trigrams, 64 palms. He tensed up, ready to accept her volley of jabs, for he knew that in this attack, she would attack as fast as she can with the seal against her. She started with 2 jabs. No good. She followed up with another 2. Brushed off. 4. Dodged. 8. Parried. 16. Swatted. 32. Blocked. All 64 attacks were negated. Hanabi deactivated her Kekkei Genkei. Her chakra was nearing its low. She was physically exhausted. She didn't know how long they were at it, but it's been over an hour, that much she knew. She fell unceremoniously to the ground. That was good, Hanabi. You lasted 10 minutes longer this time. Keep up the work and you won't be disappointed. Naruto extended his hand. Hanabi waited for a few moments before grabbing his hand. With him being an anchor, she pulled herself up. She winced at the pain in her ankle. Damn, I guess I shouldn't have ignored that. Naruto saw the visible wince. He frowned lightly. He didn't know when it happened, but from her face, it hurt a bit. She wouldn't let that expression show over something so minor. I guess I pushed her too far. I might have used too much force when I pushed away one of her kicks. You okay? Naruto asked the simple, but caring question. Yeah, I'm fine. Hanabi waved off Naruto's concern as she took another step. She inhaled sharply, but firmly stood her ground. She took another step and almost immediately crumpled. What the hell? Naruto grabbed her just in the nick of time. Yeah, you're just dandy. Naruto chuckled lightly. I just misstepped, that's all. Really? I'm fine. Come on. I can't let my cute little student continue to ignore the injury. That would make me a poor sensei. Naruto playfully chided. Hanabi frowned slightly. Bully. Hanabi gave a small smile. At least he cares about me. Naruto gently placed his hand on her shoulder. He pulled out the famous three-pronged kunai and focused for a second. The landscape around him and Hanabi distorted before reforming itself to that of the main entrance of the Hyuga compound. To the guards, Naruto and Hanabi both popped into existence from out of nowhere. Usually if someone used shunshin, body flicker, there would be leaves or some other telltale sign to announce their presence. The guards visibly stiffened at the sudden presence, but did not reach for their weapons upon seeing the blonde mess of hair. Only one person in this village had hair like that. Hanabi waved off her sensei as she attempted to walk normally. As she reached the guards, she turned towards her sensei in response to his call. Promise me you take it easy this weekend. I will, sensei. I'll see you Monday. Hanabi bowed respectfully before turning, making her way to her bedroom. Naruto stared at the retreating figure of his student before smiling, leaving like he came, vanishing into nothing. He arrived back at the training ground he was previously at with his student. He stretched his limbs before making a sizable number of clones ranging in the hundreds. He may have a student, but that was no excuse for him to skip out on his own training. With determination in his eyes, he ordered each of them split into several groups. Each group started performing a multitude of different tasks. One group was doing push-ups, another doing sit-ups, others doing planks, while another was doing squats. Other groups would run, meditate, walk on water, or fight each other in taijutsu, ninjutsu, or kenjutsu. None of them were doing anything advanced. Every single one was doing the basics of basics. After every 30 minutes, the groups would switch stations and started to perform the different activities, and he would not exclude himself from this himself. He trained alongside them for 5 hours. At the end, each and every clone performed in the 10 different activities for the day. The original would dissipate them gradually, gaining their experience and physical workouts. With his large surplus of stamina, he could work out all day by himself. The only one who was close to his level was Guy and Lee, the twin green beasts of Konoha. Even so, he would outlast them in a contest of endurance. Although, if he had to fight both of them at the same time in a fight of pure taijutsu, he would undoubtedly lose. Even if he could outlast them, it would mean nothing if they tag-teamed and beat him to a pulp. He wiped the sweat from his brow and collapsed. Sprawled out on the grass, he felt the pain ebbing through his body as he felt the fatigue from his clones. He gazed up to the sky. The sun was setting and the clouds were drifting. He felt the summer wind sweep across his face, bring its cooling breeze. Inhaling deeply a few times, he listened to the nature surrounding him. It's so peaceful now. Hopefully the world can stay this way. Naruto thought to himself before bringing himself to the main issue that has popped up after the end of the war. The other nations still want the other tailed beasts that are sealed within me. Always talking about peace this and balance that. Naruto sighed inwardly. I really don't want to seal the beasts inside of others. But you must. Kurama answered back. I know you want to set the 9 of us free, but there will always be people out there in the world that will manipulate us and force us to do their biddings. That doesn't make it any better. I feel like because of the world, you guys are handed the short end of the stick. There has to be a third option. I'll find it somewhere, somehow. Kurama bellowed out a throaty laughter. A foolish mortal caring about us demons. While you mean well, it is futile. It is the way of the world. At least you made it so that whoever we are sealed within will not despise us, nor the village despise our host. Naruto thought back to when the final fight concluded. A fierce fight between Madara Uchiha, Sasuke Uchiha and himself. Each of the 5 cages representing their nations gathered in celebration. Sadly, that celebration was shortened by the talk of distributing the demon beasts between them once again. They all felt that Naruto, a shinobi of the leaf, having all 9 made the leaf far too powerful. They were right. He was too powerful. But he refused to split his friends so easily. After a long and much heated debate, he made his promise that he would, on one and only one condition. The hosts, before becoming a Jinchuriki, they would be filled with love. The cages looked at him oddly, not comprehending what he meant. His friend Gaara, and the women he thought of as his surrogate mother, Tsunade, quickly realized what he meant. No mistreating the Jinchuriki. Each one would be seen as a hero, and be loved by their village. Naruto didn't want his fate to befall any of them. No Jinchuriki at birth. Let them have a normal childhood, fill them with love, let them experience the normalcy of being a regular human before becoming a sacrifice. He hated to think that way, but that's what they were. That's what Jinchuriki meant. A human sacrifice. A human to be sacrificed to hold great power that would balance the other nations. He hated how they only saw his friends as tools. As weapons. As things necessary to have. Nonetheless,